I'm Renee Richard, host of Roots of Faith. Today we're in Zachary, Louisiana, visiting the parish of St. John the Baptist and its mission, Our Lady of Assumption, which is actually located in Clinton. The history of these two parishes, well, this parish and its mission, go back many, many more years than when the parish was established in 1964 as an ecclesiastical parish. We know that the Acadians, when they came to Louisiana in 1785, that a group of them were sent to the area of Thompson's Creek, which is just about 6 miles from here. And although that community didn't last, Catholicism had its roots beginning then and has flourished in this region of our diocese. Zachary is located at the northern part of East Baton Rouge Parish, and it's one of the largest parishes in our diocese. And so with those beginnings came this beautiful parish and this beautiful church that we're going to explore. So join us today on Roots of Faith. I have as my guest today Father Jeff Bayhi, pastor here at St. John the Baptist in Zachary. Thank you for being on the show.
And Our Lady of the Assumption in Clinton.
Oh, that's right, because we're going to be talking about that mission as well.
That's right, that's right.
So thank you for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Always happy to be here.
Great. Tell us a little bit about how long have you been here as a pastor and maybe a little bit about your life as a priest.
I came in 2006. I just celebrated 40 years of priesthood.
Oh,
so
congratulations. Wow.
It goes pretty quickly, but I've just been so blessed as a priest. And I came here after being the vocation director in the Diocese of Baton Rouge, and then I took a sabbatical and taught for the Royal English College in Valladolid. And
Wow.
then I came back and did a little hospital work, and in July of '06 came here.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us. And this is a beautiful church. It's
Thank you.
utterly amazing. I knew that it came about in 2017, and we're going to talk much more about where we are in this physical space. But tell us a little bit about the parish itself. I know that Zachary is a growing area, so I think everybody that's viewing knows that this is a growing community. But tell us a little bit about the number of parishioners, a little bit about the demographics here.
Well, when I got here in '06, we had a little less than 600. We now have a little less than 1,400.
Is that families?
That's families.
Families.
Households.
Households.
Households. And, one of the big things that's driving our growth is the school district here. As you know, Zachary's been one of the top
Premier.
school,
Exactly.
I think, for the last 10 or 11 years in the state. So a lot of people are moving here for the education for their children. And so that's one thing, driving our growth right now. And it also is something that we're very aware of, our need to get that demographic, that age group, those young families involved, in the parish life.
That's it. And when I was looking at the list of different ministries that you do have here, you have quite a few that cater to married couples and for children as well, correct?
And that's an ongoing issue of how to incorporate, bring in. We just started a new Catholic Daughters Court. And I told them, I said, and the thing is a lot of our Catholic daughters are under the age of 45, which is not usual. As with the Knights of Columbus and the Catholic daughters, it's often down for the older. But we have a lot of young families, and I told them, we need to be family oriented. The things that young couples can come and they can connect in the parish, and they can meet each other, and their kids meet each other, and they feel pretty good about having someone who's got the same value set. Because it's such a challenge today with the different ideologies. And so when you try to find a group of people who have like ideologies, they believe in marriage the same way, and they believe in family the same way, and they believe in their faith and their children's education and Catholic education, it's very important. And so we've had some really wonderful lay people, and I'd love to say, well, thank you, I've done such a good job. It's not me, it's some wonderful lay people, and people have finally realized, don't come up with an idea unless you're willing to roll up your sleeves, okay? I'm open to all the ideas. And so we have infused for married couples, Someone just came in and said, we need a children's little math book so children can kind of catch on. And maybe keep them occupied and a little quiet during Mass and everything. And then we've got the Emmaus Walk, and we've got the morning Bible study, and it attracts, a bunch of different people. We have a men's club, and we have Knights of Columbus, and we have all these different things going on. So we're trying the life of the parish, and that's what I'm asking people to understand. I have one parish. I'm 37 miles away from my parish boundary. I have two churches, 25 miles away. And then I've got 7 nursing homes, 125-bed hospital, 2 state institutions, and I'm one priest.
Yes.
So if you're asking me, that you said you spread yourself very thin. I wish I was spreading thin. I'm just spreading, okay? But anyway, so a lot of these things are going to have to be the initiative of the laity coming forward, and I'm always welcoming of that. But I wish I could take credit. We have some really wonderful lay people that have really rolled up their sleeves, like the St. Francis de Paul, and different needs. So we have a great group here.
It sounds it, and I was very impressed with the Mass book for children.
Yes.
When I walked in here, because they're in every pew, and having grandchildren and looking through it, it's the perfect model for an incentive for parents to stay in the pews and not necessarily in the cry room or in the back, with children. So often you see parents that come in and they have other books, it might be a prayer book or a Christian book, but this little book is really awesome.
Well, and there was a couple who went to another parish to do a little traveling. They saw it. I said, man, this is great. Father, can I buy them for the parish? I said,
by all means.
Yes.
By all means.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but you're so broad, so big. It's just like you were saying, people out there, if you don't know the boundary, and you can look on the diocesan website to actually see, this is a very, very large parish.
A lot of territory. And, and part of that, and we haven't spoken about it, and we'll speak more. I have 4 religious sisters who are just a godsend. They're a group of sisters out of Naga City in the Philippines, and their charism is to go in places where there's no Catholic school available. And they're my angels. They're the parish's angels. We have 4 wonderful sisters, and now that we have 4, we can go. One car goes with 2, another car goes with 2. They're in nursing homes, homebound, shut in, catechesis, all these different things. And trust me, without the sisters,
to cover this territory.
Well, everyone would be complaining. Everyone would be, well, they're able to go on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and they do incredible work here. They are our blessing, our angels.
That's great. Tell me a little bit about the other sisters that you have in their ministry.
Well, one of the things I've been involved in since 2001 has been human trafficking. And I've worked a great deal with this nun in Rome by the name of Sister Eugenia Benetti. And she's come here. My family welcomed her. And we opened up a shelter, financed a shelter in Anzio Beach, and also a safe house in Lagos, Nigeria. And finally, the tax-free corporation, Metanoia, that I had founded, got to a point where we were able to afford to build our own shelter. And so in an undisclosed location in this area, we have a 16-bed facility that rescues juvenile victims of human trafficking. Oh, wow. And I was blessed to have 5 religious sisters, the Hospitaller Sisters of Mercy, out of Rome, to come here. And they have these wonderful sisters. And when you say blessed among women, I am.
It sounds that way.
The presence of these 9 religious sisters in this parish, working and worshiping, is just it's a pearl of great price. I just can't tell you how much their witness, their life, and their love does for this community.
Especially in something that is so necessary as
the work they do. You have no idea. Most people don't. We have, on any given night in the United States, we'll have between 18 and 20,000 children on street corners being sold. We have a horrendous problem here in Louisiana. The worst corridor in the United States for human trafficking is I-10 between Houston and New Orleans.
So what you have is well needed in this area.
We've served 26 kids in the last 18 months.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
That's a fraction. I mean, that really is St. Augustine's drop in the ocean, you know, it really is, because it's such a horrendous problem, and most people are not aware of it.
No, I
Yeah.
was not until we got to talking about it. But see,
Yeah.
this is what this does, is opens up so everybody can learn about this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for that. Let's talk a little bit too now. We were talking about the church. Is there anything else on ministries? We can always come back to that.
Just, you know, but because of sheer numbers, I need to give, you know, when you say, oh, you do so many wonderful things, I really need to emphasize how that is lay-driven and how wonderful the committed parishioners are in this parish. You know, so I give them the credit, you know. I just do the fuss and they do the work.
We were talking about all of the nuns and the help you have here.
Yeah.
With that, now we're talking about the parish of St. John the Baptist and Zachary, but equally as important is the mission that you have. And it's not very close. You said it's 25 miles away,
Yeah.
but a lot of what goes on there is helped by having the religious over there to help you, correct?
And when I arrived here, we had a couple sisters who were from Crookston, Minnesota, working there. They left after a couple of years. So we had a convent there. And that's when I was able to get the Daughters of Mary, Mother of the Church, out of Naga City. And by the way, they're opening up a new foundation in the cluster of St. James,
Oh, wow.
Vacherie,
Fantastic.
North and South Vacherie. But anyway, the parish in Clinton is about 300 families. Thanks to Father Kenny Laird, we have a beautiful church there, and it was under his guidance that we built that church. And, you know, you talk about lay people involvement. It's 25 miles away, and so it really is our religious ed program, our St. Vincent de Paul program, our Ladies' Altar Society, our men's club. It's all, you know, lay-led and inspired. And so, but it's a wonderful little community. Unfortunately, the public education that's available at this time in East Feliciana is not something a lot of people want to seek. So a lot of our parents who have young children are the ones who bring them into schools in Baton Rouge because they want a different type of education for their children. So we tend to be an older community.
Community there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice. It's out of the city. It's rolling hills. It's a beautiful area.
And Clinton's a small town.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sleeper
Yeah,
town.
yeah. It's a small town with a lot of history. And so we're really not attracting the young families. We're attracting the retirees, the people my age and that sort of thing who have had enough of the city. They want to get out and kind of coast the rest of the way, you know.
That's it. And that community, though, is very old. It dates back to 1898 for when the Sisters of St. Joseph first arrived there to put a school there. And as a result, a mission was put there. And at one time, it was attached to Our Lady of Mount Carmel in St. Francisville.
Exactly.
And then I think it was attached to you in 1964 when y'all became a parish.
I think so, because
then-
we were originally attached, I believe, to St. Jared's.
Yes, you have
We
been.
were an outpost
Your
of
history.
St. Jared, yeah.
Your history has been attached to several in North Baton Rouge as the
We've
city
always been a
grew.
stepchild, and no one's
Stepchild
given
of
us-
Baton
yeah.
Rouge until 1964. So
Yeah.
you're correct on that. St. Jared was the last one y'all were. No, St. Isidore, I think, huh?
Probably.
Maybe St. Isidore, but
Yeah.
anyway, Northern Baton Rouge.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful little community, but it's one of these changing communities. We don't attract a whole lot of young families with children because of their educational options.
Talking about the differences in the two parishes, and we know that this is, you know, young people moving here for education, and I'm sure with the growth and the planning that it took for this church. Tell us a little bit about how this great church came to be.
Well,
Some of the background.
the planning began before I got here. I got here in 2006 with a mandate that we had raised money to build a new church because they didn't see the old churches fitting the needs of a growing parish. And so, but that was right after Hurricane Katrina. There was
Goodness.
there was so much unsettling around here. So it wasn't until about 2010 we actually sat down and said, okay, let's put a pencil to it, let's do what we need to do and everything like that. And one of the things that I had always been very, very fond of is the patrimony of the church. This beautiful stained glass, the high altars, all this beauty that we've seen in these old churches. And it's an interesting concept. If you look in Baton Rouge, look at Sacred Heart, you look at St. Agnes, those are working class neighborhoods. Those are not wealthy neighborhoods. Look at the churches of working class people built for God.
Beautiful.
Now you go down into the wealthy suburbs and they don't
Totally different.
spend nearly the amount of money for that. And it's almost like back in that day, the best was for God. We got the rest. I think we flip-flopped that in recent years. I think it's all about me, and if there's anything left over, I might give it to the church. You know, and so I really wanted to reclaim some of the antiquity. I never could have afforded any of this had it not been for sale. And I had given a retreat in Rome for priests, and they were talking about all the churches in Syracuse that had been closed. And so I went up and I went to Holy Trinity Catholic Church on Park Street, right in back of St. Joe's Hospital.
In New York.
And in Syracuse, New York.
York.
So this is where the bulk of this comes from, you know, and then we, long story, we tried to get the glasses, Heritage Foundation, different things. Didn't work. And the glasses came out of the Diocese of Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
As well as the pews. So it was something that we had to, you know, gather, we had to match, but the lion's share is out of Holy Trinity. In Syracuse. And when we dedicated the church, the pastor who I dealt with to buy this church, he came down and he was just in awe because, you know, the church has happened. It was inner city, demographics had changed. The people who moved in were not Catholic. They moved out to the suburbs and that sort of thing. The cost of the church was humongous.
To keep it going, right.
You know, to keep it going. And it just wasn't the people nor the finances available. So it was closed. And that's when I was able to go in and buy all of the adornments. And, you know, it's through the generosity and the patrimony of the Diocese of Syracuse that we have this wonderful church.
That's amazing, too. When I was researching this and I was reading about where it came from and the community that started it, it was for German immigrants in the area of New York. And it was one of these, like you see sometimes in Chicago, and I know these churches are closing, where you literally can walk blocks and there's different ethnicities. I know in Chicago you've got a Lithuanian Catholic church and a Russian Catholic church, and you know you have all these in close proximity, and they're neighborhood churches. But this one was a German-based church. And when I was reading that, I got excited because people don't realize the influence that the Germans had on the history of Louisiana and the history of Catholicism in Louisiana. Had it not been for the German coast here, the city of New Orleans would have never survived its early childhood, you might say, because it was their produce that kept New Orleans afloat. And of course, in South Louisiana, the German culture got absorbed into the Acadians and into the Irish, you know, in parts of New Orleans.
They all became
and
Cajuns.
you don't, right? And unless you know how much, I mean, they had German newspapers in New Orleans.
Father Jerry Young talks about that all the time.
Does he?
Yeah.
Well, I just from my work in archives and working for the Archdiocese of New Orleans, I was well aware of the German influence. So I got so excited because all of this here is German influence, and it's like this is awesome tribute, you know, for the Germans.
Well, within 10 minutes of this church, I could walk to 6 different churches: the French, the Irish, the German, the Italian, and the Sicilian, and the Polish. You know, down south, we didn't have the ethnic neighborhoods like the Northeast had.
Does, correct.
You know, I mean, every other block had their national church, or their ethnic churches.
That's what I read about, and I was so excited to have the German church belongings come here.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to get that out to y'all folks, because you really need to see this place.
Yes.
This was all designed, architects, builder, everything was local here.
Our building committee got together and we said, you know, we don't want you to design something that's going to win an award. We know what we want, you know, and so we did the process of interviewing architects and contractors, and we settled upon Ritter Mayer from here in Baton Rouge, and also Falk and Meat from here in Baton Rouge, and so, you know, we kind of bought the doorknob and then built the church to match the doorknob.
Okay,
you know.
great. That was my next question.
We had all the inside. Here's what we're putting in here. Now, you design a neo-Gothic church that is going to, you know, highlight the beauty of this place.
Okay, so that was my next question is, which came first? So you purchased the stuff,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
interior from New York, and then planned the church around it,
Absolutely,
correct?
yes.
Okay, well, reading the book, I couldn't text you, it's like everything fit the spaces perfectly, and in my mind, my first thought was, wow, they built this church and everything, you know, maybe not the exact windows,
Sure.
but I mean, it fit in.
Sure.
So you had purchased all this and
Oh, yeah.
then went to them and said,
We knew the size of the windows, we knew the size of the reredos, we knew the size of everything, and we built the church around the things that we bought.
And
As a matter of fact, they went up there with us and saw the church before it was, you know, dismantled and brought down here, so they knew. Yeah.
So that's amazing. Now, one of the things that did catch my attention in talking about the architects is when you first walk into the doors here, on the floor, you have the beautiful, what would you call it, monogram for your parish?
Yeah.
And that was donated by them,
It
was
was.
it not?
It was
It's
by
very
by Ritter
large,
Mayer,
too.
yeah. It's the big SJB, and I'm trying to think of that material, and I can't. Terrazzo.
Terrazzo.
And Terrazzo, yeah. Yeah, so that was a gift of theirs.
And there's some exterior features that are really interesting as well. You have the beautiful fountain of St. John the Baptist out front and the statue of him. You have brick pavers on the floor. Is that
Right.
from donations
Yes.
from parishioners?
Yes.
To help sponsor all of this?
Absolutely, yeah, to pay for it, yeah.
And one of the other things that I noticed that is you have the baptismal font, I gather, from Syracuse because it's very much the same tones, but there's another baptismal font
We
right
use
up.
it as a holy water font.
Is it? It's
That
beautiful.
came
Now,
from the
where did that
Diocese of
come from?
Allentown.
Oh, from
Came from the
Allentown,
Diocese of
Pennsylvania.
Allentown,
Because I
yes.
noticed it, and I didn't know if it was maybe from the old church or what.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it makes an interesting point in here. A
Sure.
couple other things that I noticed, separate from the church, though, when you walk into the main entrance of the church, the main doors, on the left, you have pictures in a case of military
Yes,
people, and I noticed in the pews, you have a card praying for our country, a very military presence.
after every mass,
That's amazing. I think that's awesome.
We started in 2006. We pray to St. Michael the Archangel, and we pray for our country.
And so
I think it's a wise thing to do. We ought to be praying for
Yes.
our country right now.
I agree. But is there any significance to the pictures that are in the cabinet?
Well,
Parishioners
we've
can do
asked,
that, or
we've asked people who have children serving in the military
that's what I want to do.
to come and bring their pictures, and we would continuously remember them in prayer.
Yes, that's great. The other side is like for gifts. It had rosaries and so like a gift shop, which is great because plenty of parishes have them, but they're not in the church like for after mass or something like that.
Well, those beautiful rosaries, a lady in the parish, Gloria
magnificent.
Rogers, makes those. They're magnificent. And then when I go back and forth to Rome, I bring unique stuff from Rome, and so people can buy it.
One of the things that we have not talked about is your campus here
Yeah.
and what's involved here. So I understand that you do have an adoration chapel.
We
and-
do, and it's well used by our School of Religion.
Great.
Of course, we have a School of Religion, and we never have enough space. The old church is being turned into a community center. We have a gymnasium that at one time was used as a gymnasium, but it became our only community center. What was the rectory
Okay.
has become the offices because we had such a tiny space when I first got here. And what was the youth house has, at the end of the block, has now become the parish rectory.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of, different things going on. We have, and I'm having a senior moment here, but the parish hall is a small area with the kitchen, and you can seat 60 or 70 people there.
Yeah,
And
to use for
we
function.
use that after Mass on Sundays.
Okay.
And so we're a little bit spread out more than we would like to be, but it's a big campus. And thanks to our church fathers, in particular guys like Leonard Aguilar and Jerry Boudreau, who saw fit to buy this property where we are, so we could have a Main Street presence.
And your Adoration Chapel is not in this building, it's a separate structure at this point?
It's part of the old church.
Okay.
There was like an overflow chapel.
Okay.
That has become our Adoration Chapel, and it's right next door to our parish hall.
Very good.
And hopefully we're going to complete a new chapel here. We've already got the approval and the funding. We're waiting to get some other things straight before we start.
Very good. Well, Father Jeff, I can't thank you enough for being
Renee,
on the
thank you
show
for
today.
coming.
And folks, this is a beautiful place to visit, and we've run out of time, so if you stay tuned with us, we'll be doing an entire show.
Let me just say, people who want to bring groups here and that sort of thing, if you call in advance, we have ladies who will give tours of the church and will gladly welcome you here.